Hi folks, in this video I'm going to show you a new feature in QuickBooks Online Advanced Edition called Custom Report Builder. Now when you're in QuickBooks Online, you're going to click on the Reports menu on the left hand side, and then you're going to click on Reports. Once you get into Reports, you should see an icon or a link that says Custom Report Builder. At the time that I'm recording this video, it's on beta. I assume that a couple of months from now, it will no longer be beta and it will have more features. This is basically the first version, the first release of this custom report builder. Now, if you don't see this in your QuickBooks Online, quick reminder, I'm going to click on the gear menu on the top right and then click on Account and Settings. And then I'm going to click here where it says Billing and Subscription and show you which version of QuickBooks I am in. I am in QuickBooks Online Advanced. If you are on Essentials Plus, Simple Start, this is not going to work. This feature is only available in Advanced, which is the $150 a month edition of QuickBooks Online. Now, I have a 50% discount of my subscription because I have a special link that allows you to get that. So if you don't have an account already and you're going to create a new account, check the link in the description so you can get this version of QuickBooks at a 50% discount. Anyway, so if you have QuickBooks Online Advanced and you want to get into the reports, let's get right to it. So when you first go into the report section, you see Custom Report Builder, you're going to see two buttons. One says Invoice Report. The other one says Expense Report. These are basically templates. But if you click up here where it says Create New Report, it will start from scratch. We're going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on Create New Report, and then it's going to go into the New Report Builder screen. Now, the first thing you need to do is give the report a name because you will probably save this report. So let's create a report of open items in invoices. Let's just call it that. So open items in invoices. And we'll kind of develop the idea as we go. Then here under the date range, I'll select for now this fiscal year. And then for now, there's no information because we haven't told it what type of information we want. Let's start with invoices. I'm going to click on invoices here on the right hand side. If you don't see this sort of list of fields here, you will see a little collapse button that will help you close that, and you can click on customize and it will open that again. So this customize button, you can open and close the fields, or this little collapse button can close that as well. So you want to make sure you have that customized set of fields open and you click on invoices, and you're going to start checking all the attributes or the fields inside the invoices that you want to see on the report. So I'm going to start with invoice date. And the minute I check that, you're going to see a whole bunch of dates listed here in the list of transactions. That's because that's every single transaction line by date. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select, let's do customer name. So I'm going to click on customer name. That's going to add the customer name as a second column. And then the next thing I'll do is the invoice number. Okay, so now we have date, customer name, invoice number. Now you start getting an idea more or less of what's going on in terms of what this is reporting. Now I also want to add the amount. So I'm going to click on amount. Where is amount? There you go. Click on amount, and that's going to give me the invoice amount. Okay, so that's it. That's what we got. We got the invoice date, the customer name, invoice number, and amount. Now I'm going to close this invoice group, and I'm going to go to invoice line items because now I want to bring data inside of the invoice itself. So I'm going to go and find product and service. So I'm going to open product and service. And now what you will see is you're now going to see a column with every single line item, every single product inside of the invoice. Now for some context, I'm going to copy this invoice number over here. And here on the search box, I'm going to type it just so we can find that invoice number, look at it so we get a general idea what is it that QuickBooks is picking up on this report. I'm going to open up the invoice, and then you notice once I open the invoice, and let's wait until that loads, you're going to see a whole bunch of items, a whole bunch of products that were sold to this one customer in this invoice. You see all 4 products there. Now each of the individual items have a dollar amount, quantity, rate, and amount, and there's also a total invoice dollar amount, which is this 34,500. I'm going to close that. So we go back in here. And now you notice that every single amount is showing for 34,500 because we told it to give me the amount from the invoice, not from the line item. If I want the amount from the line item, I need to make sure that I pick it up from invoice line item. So I'm going to enable amount line right here, amount line. So I'm going to enable that. And now you see two separate columns that contain amounts. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the left navigation bar over here so we get a little bit more space. And I'll close the customize list of fields on the right. So you notice here that there's one amount contains the total dollar invoice amount, and the other amount is the line item. So you have to choose at this point which is the one you want. Since we're showing items, and eventually we're going to get to open items, we'll explain what that is, then we don't need that amount column. So I'm going to open up customize again. I'm going to click on the invoice grouping, and then I'm going to uncheck amount. I don't need amount. Uncheck that. That way now I'm only showing invoice date, customer name, invoice number, product and service, and then amount line. Okay, so pretty good so far. Now, other things that we can do is we can go into account up here. We can go into account, open that up, and now you notice that we have the different accounts that are being affected by every single line item in the invoice. Now, if I click on filter and I go into filter and then I click on account and I click on operation and I click on equals, I'm now going to have a list of all the accounts that are potentially going to be affected. Let's say I only want to pick up the income accounts. So I'm going to scroll down to my income accounts, which are going to be right here. All these the ones that start with 4. These are all income accounts. So I'm going to check those because I only want to report, let's say, sales. So I'm going to click on all these because I know these are all income accounts, and that's it. It stops here at cost of goods sold. So what I've done effectively is to say, hey, only show me the income accounts. Unfortunately, on the account filter, I can't group them and say, just give me all the income accounts. I have to physically choose each of the income accounts. One of the drawbacks about that. But again, this is beta or the first version of this. Perfect. So now we have the filter that only shows my sales or the income side of the invoice. You see them all listed here for every single product. Now I can start grouping things in specific ways. So for example, I can click on group and I can say, you know what? I want to sort them out by product name and then by, let's say, customer. So I'm going to go into group and I'm going to select product and service. And now this is going to group them by product. So every single item, all the sales are now grouped by product. Now I can click on group one more time and click on add and create an additional group or a subgroup. And now I'm going to select customer name. So what's nice about this is I can expand or drill down into any of these. So for example, we got this product at 1000 MC. I can open that and then notice it's broken down by customer. I can open each of the individual customers and I can see that there are 2 invoices associated with products of that particular item for that customer. Now I'm going to show you one more thing. We're going to come up here and we're going to go into invoice and we're going to look at page status. So I'm going to open up page status and you will notice, let me close the right fields. And then notice that we have, I'm going to expand these. We have this field here called unpaid. Now I'm going to open some of them. Now this is unpaid as well. Unpaid. Let's see if any of these show up as paid. Okay, I'm going to do last fiscal year, because then there'll probably be a lot more items that have been paid. Okay, perfect. So it's perfect example. So you notice as I expand these, some are going to be paid, some are going to be unpaid. What I can do, I can also filter and only show those open. That's what I meant. Open invoices by item. So I'm going to go to filter, click on filter. Actually, I'm going to click on add. I'm going to add one more filter, and then I'm going to go to page status, and then I'm going to select equals, and then unpaid. Okay, and then I'll close that. So now I'm only seeing unpaid invoices. Notice as I expand any of these, all of these are going to say unpaid. Now to simplify things, I'm going to go ahead and remove both of the grouping. That way I just have the entire data set here, and here are all my invoices that contain these fields, the product, the amount, all that stuff, and these are all the unpaid ones. Now I can do a couple of extra things. So for example, I can group these, let's say by customer now, by customer name. And then what I can also do is I can remove, I'm going to remove the unpaid filter for a second. And then as a second group, I'm going to add actually, I'm going to go back into group. I'm going to add a second group, and then I'm going to do by paid status. So what I can do in this particular case is now I have my sales by customer, and they're grouped by whether they are paid or not. So if we look at this one, for example, this customer called Las Vegas store, we have a group for paid and a group for unpaid. So if I expand paid, there's all my invoices or all the line items in invoices that have been paid, and then the ones that have been unpaid. So very, very interesting stuff. Let me remove that grouping as well. And let me remove the filtering. And then we're going to start from scratch one more time. So we're going to clear all filters. And let's go to customize, clear all. And there we go. We're starting from scratch again. So let's go to customize. And instead of looking at invoice line items, I want to see invoices as a group. So I don't want to see particular products inside of the invoice. I just want to see the invoice as a whole. So I'm going to click on invoice date. I'm going to click on invoice number. I'm going to click on, let's say, my customer's name, and then I'm going to click on open balance. So at this point, I'm only showing the invoices as a whole, no details, and their open balances. So you see some invoices have a $0 open balance, some invoice have some sort of number next to it. Now, if I don't open the paid status, it'll be pretty obvious to you that the ones that have a 0 are paid, and the ones that have any sort of dollar value are unpaid. So you can now kind of see the correlation of them. So in this case, I would just enter here invoice list with open balance. Open balance. Okay, so that would be the name of the report. I can click on save, and I can start saving it so I can recall this in the future. Now, other ways I can group this, just kind of thinking out loud here, is we're going to go into grouping. We're going to group this by customer, and we'll close that. So now we have all of our customers with their balances, including the ones that have 0 balances. And then I can open and explore any of these. For example, we got an open balance here for 17,000. I can click on that, expand, and see the specific invoice that's open. I can go into this K&D, and I can see there are 2 invoices, some paid, some unpaid. So this grouping is really, really neat. Now, if I wanted to only show the open ones, then at this point, I would go into filter, go into open balance, and go into, let's say, greater than 0. That's one option, right? So then that way, it will just show me all the invoices that have a bigger open balance than 0. Or I'm just going to click on clear here. I can do paid status and do equals unpaid. Kind of the same thing. Basically, I did the exact same thing by using those 2 filters, but just kind of showing you the different things that we can do. Now, these are all totaled by dollar amount. When I click on group, there's a little option here that says edit group calculations. And right now it's only set to total. But what's really, really cool is I can show an average and a percentage as well. So let's start with percentage, and I'm going to get rid of total for a second and close that. So what this represents is basically the percentage of open invoices as a whole in this report that we're looking at. So this Las Vegas store represents 34% of all of the open invoices that are shown in this specific report. That's what percentage means. So in most cases, you might want to have maybe total and percentage, something like that. That will give you a general idea. That way, it starts making a lot more sense. Obviously, a percentage by itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now, I'm going to go back into group, go into the edit calculations, and I'm going to do, let's say, average. That might be easier. So I'm going to do average. Okay. And here you can see basically what is the average dollar amount per customer in this particular case, on each of these. Now, I think most of these are just one customer. So that's why the average is pretty much the same thing as the dollar amount. But if I weren't going to group it by customer, if I were going to group it by something else. So for example, let's say I want to group it by date. Okay, and this is going to basically group it by date. Maybe not a good example, but if you look at this one for December 15th, there are 2 invoices that day, one for 34,000, one for 9,300. This will give you a general idea of how much open invoices based on the original invoice date there are, and now we're seeing the average across all the multiple transactions. So there's the possibilities are endless pretty much when it comes to this. Now I'm going to go back to reports here, and I'll save that just to show you what happens if I don't start from scratch and I use one of these templates. I'm going to select expense report. So I'm going to go to expense report, and then instead of last month, we're going to do this fiscal year. And notice that there's already a preset number of items that are showing here. If you look at this number 7, that means how many fields are being selected from that expense group. So if I go to expense, you see all the fields that are being selected. Now, unfortunately, there's no way to change the order of the fields. They appear as you mark them. So for example, if I wanted a vendor name to be at the end, I would uncheck vendor name. Okay, it goes away from the list, and then check it one more time, and then I'll kind of close or collapse it. It shows up at the very end. So it's kind of one of the really interesting things about this. Now I'm going to open expense, and I'm going to get rid of some of these. Maybe I want to get rid of, let's say, open balance. Let's say I don't need open balance in this case, and I don't need due date either. So I'm going to get rid of due date. So now at this point, I have transaction date, transaction type, transaction number, amount, and vendor name. So I can click on group, and I can group this by vendor name. Perfect. And I can also add a subgroup, and I can do it by transaction type. So what something like that would do is, if you look at this one called Surgeon McCoy, you're going to see that 2 of them are treated as an expense, and then 1 of them is treated as a credit card credit. Now, that might be useful or it might not. It really doesn't matter. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to get rid of that transaction type subgrouping, and then just leave my expenses by vendor. So as I kind of scroll down, I can see all of my expenses by vendor, and I can actually open any of these, open it up, and then see every single transaction for this vendor. Now, a couple of things that would be interesting in this case is I can add another filter here. Actually, not a filter. I'm going to click on customize, and I'm going to add a field. Here under expense, I'm going to look for the account. I'm going to select here where it says account, and we're going to expand these so we can see the account or the category for every one of these transactions. So what I could do, which makes things pretty interesting, I'm going to go to group, and then I'm going to, instead of group by vendor, I'm going to group by account. So now I see all my transactions grouped by account. Kind of looks like a profit and loss report. I can expand them and see all the transactions inside of it. But then I can go one more layer. I can go into group, go to add, subgroup, and then click on vendor name. So now I'm looking at all my categories here. For example, meals and entertainment. Let me collapse that. And I can expand that, and then I can see all of the vendors that are essentially affecting that that are included in the list of transactions hitting that meals and entertainment account. Now I can do something even more interesting. I can go to group here. I'm going to get rid of both of these groupings, and then I'm going to start with vendor name, and then the secondary one, the subgroup, will be account. And I'm going to show you why this is interesting. And the reason why this would be interesting is I can see with this report if any vendors are being categorized for more than one account. So for example, you see this one called office supply store. I can open that and notice that there's one transaction inside promotional expense, another transaction inside supplies. That could mean something or it might not. You might want to go through it and see, you know what, maybe someone is misclassifying these things incorrectly. Maybe there shouldn't be more than one category per vendor. So you can actually just kind of explore, which of these vendors have transactions hitting multiple accounts or multiple categories. So that's it for Report Builder. I am extremely excited for the potential that this is going to bring. This is a game changer for QuickBooks Online. The amount of details that you're able to explore through this, the type of reports you can create are pretty much in your imagination pretty much. And this is the first version of it. This thing just came out at the beginning of May of 2021 as they make this product better. And I've worked with their team directly, giving some suggestions and giving some feedback, although it takes a while for all those feedbacks to come in. I'm very excited for what is to come, and I'll keep you informed. Next version of this, I'll do another video. We'll explore the next couple of things. Exporting this to Excel is going to be big. Right now, if I click on export, it's not available yet. It says coming soon. So hopefully by the time you watch this video, you will be able to export these things. And again, you access these by going into reports and then going into where it says custom report builder, and you need the advanced edition of QuickBooks Online for this, which by the way, it's been tough for probably a year and a half since QuickBooks Online Advanced came out to really find that feature that makes that version of QuickBooks so much worth it. Because remember, QuickBooks Online Plus, which is the one that's under it, is half the price. So why would you upgrade to this advanced edition? I think that if they get this custom report builder right, and they allow you to access every field and export the data and group and sort and all these things, if all these things become available, this would be it. This would be the feature that gets me to believe that QuickBooks Online is finally a really great and powerful report generator. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. Again, if you want to sign up to QuickBooks Online Advanced Edition, I'll go back to that screen for a second just to say, so you can check what edition you have. If you want to sign up for that account, and it's a brand new account, and you want to get a 50% discount for 12 months, because I know $150 a month is a lot, especially if you're ramping up, use the link I'll put in the description so you get that discount. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.